This is Rehab Your Soul, Rehab My Soul with Lemisky Love. I'm your host, Lemisky Love. We are here today with psychologist and coach Leanne Kanzler. And she is an Aussie, aren't you?
An Aussie. I am an Aussie, yes.
Oh, I said it wrong because I'm not. But awesome. I'm sorry. I actually said the S. I didn't say Z, Aussie. So
Oh,
welcome, welcome, Miss. What is it? Break up to break through. So we are
that's
gonna
right.
hang out and chit chat today about healing our hearts after a breakup.
Hmm.
And she is over here looking fabulous. So we're gonna hang out, chit chat about breakups because I know you've been through one. I've been through a few, and we're gonna go ahead and dive into it. So, how did you get started in this? So, like, introduce yourself and just let me know, like, how'd you get started in this?
Okay, well, I guess I got started in it after my own divorce about 12 years ago. And I started dating again, as you do. And I had been with my first husband for 17 years. So I got married very young. And when I started dating again, I realized there was a lot of trauma, a lot of guys, because I was dating guys, out there who really didn't have a clue. And they were projecting all of their anger of their ex onto me. And I was at that age where a lot of people I knew and a lot of clients I knew were also going through breakup grief. And it became very obvious to me that I was not going to be able to find somebody who really matched me and my energy unless I did a bit more work on myself, and that there was so much out there where people, guys in particular, because I started off working just with guys, really needed to do the work. They really felt like there was no one out there for them. They were angry, they were aggressive, they were emotional. It was just way too much baggage. And it kind of made me realize that something needed to be done to help these guys. And that's what started it all.
Wow. So instead of just get away, you decided to help them. Like, that is so benevolent of you. I love that.
I found myself, because I was doing online dating, I had two young children, and that was the easiest way to meet someone at that point. You know, kind of counseling. I'm at there, on the computer trying to meet someone, and then they'd say something to me, and then my psych hat would slip on, and I'd be thinking, what am I doing? Stop this. This is not my job right now. So, yeah, I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, sometimes you can't. Um, I think I'm a veteran dater, so I can definitely attest to the fact that dating helps you understand people more if you so choose to take in the lessons, right?
That is a very, very good point. Let me see it. I always say, kind of one of my phrases that I often use is relationships are here to teach us.
Yep.
And every single relationship, even my brief relationship with you is teaching me something. If we allow ourselves to see what the reality is, and not be caught up in all of our emotions, we can learn so much.
For
And that
sure.
is why I really want to do this work, and spread the message that we don't want to be sitting in this place of blame and he's a narcissist and she's a horrible person and blah, 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 because that just keeps us stuck. No one wants to be stuck.
Right.
Mm.
So what do you think about the casual use of the word narcissist these days? Like, what do you think about that?
It drives me crazy, actually. It's funny you asked me that question because we haven't really talked about it, but it really grinds my gears, as they say. A true narcissist is, there's really only around 5% of the population, but with so many groups that I'm in where
Wait, wait.
I
I'm sorry. I have to interrupt you. Is
yeah,
that the Aussie population or the American? Because our statistics have got to be different.
maybe they are, but too too many people are labeled narcissist when really they are traumatized. They are trying to get back some control of their life and, who they are. And we all have little narcissistic traits, but too many people are labeled that. And yes, of course, there are some true narcissists out there. I'm not denying that at all. But there are a lot of people blogging about it and talking about it. And again, I think it's one of those things that if we don't really look at the history of the person, where they're coming from, the trauma that they've dealt with in the past, it's really easy just to go, oh, they're a narcissist. And therefore, we stop taking responsibility for our own behaviour. So, as a very quick example, someone who had labelled their partner, a client of mine who had labelled their partner a narcissist, we did some work and it was very apparent that he actually had complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And so his reaction to her came out abusive and controlling. But when he started to get the work that he needed, that shifted. And then she realised that she had also given her power away because she wanted to help him and, make sure that everything was okay. And she was a very big people pleaser. And when she started to set very clear boundaries, everything changed as well. So this is why I hate when people overuse the term narcissist. It's helpful when it's helpful, and it's not helpful when it's inappropriately used.
I think it's for sure a spectrum, right? Narcissism is definitely a spectrum.
Yes.
Um, but I don't know. I advocate the overusage of the word because we're balancing out all the years we didn't talk about what those types of people did to us. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's and I have experienced the difference between a person that is at their core a narcissist because they most times are completely oblivious of the fact that they are so toxic. And then
Yeah.
there are some people who take on those traits as a defense mechanism who are actually empaths or just damaged or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's been helpful for me to dive in, but the average person is probably not diving into that, which is okay. But I think drawing attention to the fact that there are some very toxic people out here, I think it's very helpful for the culture of online dating that I grew up in. I've been online dating since online dating was online. Like I've never had to date any other way. You know what I'm saying? Unless I wanted to. So it's very interesting. But back to breakups, right? Thank you for that. I think that was a helpful little tidbit, though. I love that tangent. So when we're dealing with a breakup,
Mm-hmm.
at what stage would we want to work with someone? So right now, so your background is psychology, but you're actually a coach right now, like a practicing coach right now.
Yeah, I've actually practiced both.
Okay,
Um,
that's
but
awesome.
my yeah, but my passion is the coaching side of things.
Okay, how is it different for you? So like, why is your passion on that side instead of the other?
Um, Good question. I think with the coaching, there's a lot more freedom in that I can pretty much work with people in an energetic way. I don't know what it's like in the States, but in America, as a psychologist, you're not really meant to be working with people in that energetic way. It's very strict in the kind of techniques you're allowed to use with people as a psychologist. However, with coaching, I have a lot more freedom to work with clients in a way that resonates with me and therefore resonates with them. And I get great results with both, but I have more fun with coaching and I get more energy out of it as well.
Awesome. And I think people are sometimes in different stages too when
Mhm.
they're seeing a psychologist versus seeing a coach too. So the needs can be different as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. More
Yeah,
trauma and that sort of thing with psychology. I mean, some people aren't ready for coaching. Some people need to just
exactly.
go slow and work on that side of that stage of life before they're ready to do coaching. But you started to ask before about when are people ready to do coaching, I think you were
Yeah,
going to
like
say.
if I'm going through a breakup, like when would I see like when would I okay, I was going to say, when would I seek you out? But I would also say, I'm pretty sure I would start seeking you out before it's a breakup.
Yeah, some people do that for sure. I have had some clients come to me and say, look, I want to, I'm considering this. Can you help me make a decision? And we do some therapy in that stage of looking at, okay, where are you at? Where do you want to be? And, all that sort of stuff. But it is definitely good to get some resources available before you make the decision. And that might include speaking to a financial advisor, speaking to a legal person, speaking to a therapist or a coach, just to get your head in that right space. Because it really is a very scary time to leave a long term relationship, especially if there are children involved. It completely unravels life, and the purpose of the coaching, I guess, is to help you pull yourself together again and ensure that you don't make the same mistakes, that you learn to love yourself and that you can move on and be bigger and better than ever before. So a good time to start coaching for anyone really is when you're ready. For some people, it's very, very soon. Like, I've had clients come to me a month or so after their breakup and they're right, I've been thinking about this divorce for 5 years and I'm ready. Let's do this. I've had someone who has been divorced for 10 years and is still stuck in exactly the same place they were 10 years ago. And he only came to me because his best friend said, OMG, you need to do something. And he referred him, and we had a few good sessions, and he made some massive changes then. Um, so it really depends on the individual. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't know that it's available, which is why I like to do the podcasts, because a lot of people I speak to still say, oh, right, I didn't know that this was a thing. I didn't know I could get help like this.
For
Um,
sure. Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize how helpful just having a soundboard or a coach or something could be for just
mm,
working through that stuff, because most of us may not, if we had the discipline to do it, we would have done it by now, to sit and journal and really dive into those feelings and really, there's ways, there's a healing has many budgets, right? It could be very expensive if you have it, and it can be absolutely freaking free if you need it to, with journaling and self um actualization and understanding and knowledge and all that stuff. So
yeah.
thanks for that. So do you have a specific methodology that you use or process, or is it just unique for every person? Like, what's your flow?
Well, I've got two different ways, I guess. I do have an online program, which everyone who I do one on one work with also does the online program. What I found very interestingly, though, is the people that I generally do the one on one work with, they get to a certain point and then they just don't finish the online program. They're like, oh, I've made so many awesome changes, and then they just don't do it, which is kind of nice because it makes me feel great, because I know that they've really shifted, which is a beautiful thing. And I guess the cheaper option is for people to just do the online program. And really, what that involves is teaching and helping people to process their emotions. So there's 9 modules altogether. The last module is kind of like a bonus module. It is all about dating and getting your head into a good space, knowing exactly what you want before you start dating again. But before that, there is, I always do work on anger, resentment, guilt, fear, and we dive very deep into that. We do goal setting stuff, where are you now, where you want to be, that sort of thing. I talk to people about where they're at with their finances, and just, I don't dive deep into that because that's not my thing, but I just find out where they're at and discuss with them the need, if need be, to speak to a financial advisor. Um, I've got a list of legal people if they need to, because some people do come to me very early on in the piece and they haven't sought legal advice yet. So we talk big picture, and we dive deep as well. And of course, we talk about co-parenting and their own relationship with their children and how they can improve that. And that's kind of one of my personal favorites because I'm also very passionate about putting children first and helping parents who are now single to put their kids' needs first, but also their own, so that there's not this kind of imbalance between parent child and ex. So, yeah, that's also something that I really work on. So there's a lot, there is so much.
Yeah, that sounds awesome though, because if I'm that person who does have a child that's about to get divorced or trying to figure out all these emotions, like you're like a one-stop shop because you're able to, either take it to the trauma side and help me process that way or coach me through moving forward. And
Mm,
then you've got like the full package of understanding like the different moving parts of someone's life. It's complicated. So it is a lot of stuff.
yeah.
It sounds awesome. It sounds really, really awesome. So, are you primarily working with men still, or is it co-ed, or do you have a
Yeah,
group
a bit of
any
both
group
at the
stuff or
moment.
anything?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to start doing a group. I want to do a couple of groups a year, I think, and I don't want them to be big groups. I've seen some coaching programs where there's 100 people on the call, and I do not want to do that. So I'm thinking a maximum of 10 or 12 would be really lovely because group energy is great, right? People get to meet each other and talk to each other and normalize things. And me as a facilitator will ensure that they learn from each other and they don't drag each other down. And then we can do some processes as a group as well. And it makes it more affordable for people who can't do one on one, but really want to actually talk to people as well. So yeah, groups are not something that I've focused on, but I am actually working on that as we speak. So I'm glad you asked that question.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
so, I don't know if you answered. Is it still just
Oh
men or?
no, men and women, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I started off with men. I love working with men because when a man decides he's ready, he is ready. And he really does great work. And I love seeing the significant shift in their energy and the way they think about themselves and the world. That's a really beautiful thing.
That's awesome.
But last year, I participated in a magazine called Feminescence, which is an absolutely gorgeous magazine. And with working with them, I thought, this is a women's magazine. I should probably do some work with women. And it made me realize that I actually love working with women as well. They have a completely different point of view, a different energy. And I put it out there, and pretty much immediately I started working with women. So that kind of reinforced that, yeah, this is important as well. I didn't want to start working with women only because there are lots of coaches out there who only work with women.
Right.
And I really saw, as I mentioned before, that need for men to get help. And I wanted to focus on men. Um, I love working with women too. So why hold myself back? I'm all about being congruent and working with what your heart wants. And yeah, I miss that aspect of it. So that's why I decided, well, let's see what happens. And straight away, I got a couple of clients. So the
Cool.
universe told me that was a good idea.
Yes, you got confirmation. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, as we kind of wrap up here, I want to have you, sorry about that. As we kind of wrap up here, I want to have you leave us with some words of wisdom when it comes to a broken heart and separating and having to start over all over again and
Mm,
figuring out that maze, that overwhelming feeling of life just having just complete shift.
yeah. I think one of the most important things for people to understand is that the emotions of a separation, especially if you've been with that person for a long time, are the same as the emotions of a death. So you are going through a massive grieving process, and that takes time. And it's important to give yourself permission to process that emotion. And what that means is don't go out and start dating immediately or use drugs or alcohol, because that will actually make the process take longer. So give yourself time to cry, to journal, to talk to the right people. Be mindful of who you're talking to. Your friends can sometimes mislead. So choose the right people to talk to, people who are going to uplift you and empower you, and not give you bad advice. And for people who are feeling particularly down, this is a time of life where some people can feel like there is no hope, which is one of the other reasons I wanted to really work with men, because the suicide rate after a separation is quite high in men. And there is hope. Even right now, if you feel there is no hope, I promise you things will change if you give yourself some time. Really, that's the biggest thing, and to just ask for help. If you're feeling really, really down and anxious and depressed, speak to your doctor as a great starting point. And don't be afraid of medication. I took some medication when I needed it, and it honestly saved me at the very beginning when it was really tough. Um, don't be afraid of that. There's a lot of people who are scared of medication, but if you're suicidal, it's better to pop a pill than take your life, and it can make a big difference. So reach out. There are lots of people out there who can help you. There is a stack of information on the internet. Um, there's just so much. There's so many people out there who are ready, willing, and able to help, including me. I have spots available, and I will never turn anyone down, because life could depend on it, and that's really how important it is.
Wow. Thank you for that. Absolutely. So, where can we find you online?
A couple of places. So on Instagram, I'm called at the Transformational Breakup. On LinkedIn, just under my name, Leanne Kanzler. Facebook, I have a divorce Facebook support group called Divorce Separation and a Little Bit of Hope. It's a new group, so it's still quite small. Not a great deal of interaction yet, but it's personal. So happy to welcome anybody into that group as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for your words of wisdom. And thanks for being here. So happy to
Much
have you on
appreciated.
here.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lanisty.
You're so welcome.